Hello, this is our first of a series of podcasts that we are doing. We're hopefully going to release one of these every week on varying topics, ranging from film, music and sport. But today, particularly, we are talking about video games. Most popular industry in the world, so why not chat about it for an hour? My name is Luke Baldwin, I am the head of entertainment for Forge TV. I am joined by Chloe Derby, Tom Buckland and Nick Burke. So basically, we are just going to chat for an hour about we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Me and Tom recently went to EGX, so a lot of interesting stuff there, played a lot of games. But for now, we thought with this being the first one, we would just kind of get to know everyone, kind of get a bit of an idea of what we're like, what sort of games we're into, and also talk about what we may have missed over summer. So basically, we're going to start off with what we've been playing recently, what we've been playing over the past few months. Does anyone want to start? Have anything particularly strongly that they've been playing that they want to chat about?
I'm gonna rep Observer, which is a game by Blooper Team. It is on Steam. It is on console. It is essentially a Blade Runner clone. It's by the same people, Bloober, who made Layers of Fear, which is a horror game.
It's the painting one, isn't it? Yeah.
That's the painting one, yeah.
Yeah, it's got like the so basically, the more you do of the game, the more you see the painting.
Exactly. Yeah. So, okay. First off, it looks amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. The main issue that might put people off is this. You see this artifacting? That's like an in-game mechanic, and so if you don't take your medicine enough, then the screen starts to artifact and blur. It's really disorientating. I thought it added to it, but I can understand why people gave it negative reviews on Steam. It's not got amazing reviews on Steam. So it's around 10 hours. I thought for a 10-hour game, light puzzle solving, the story was incredible, and it was the best example of cyberpunk in games for now that I've ever played, seen.
That was the one.
Yeah, until the one.
How much is it?
It is, I think it's around like 15 quid, 20 quid.
For a 10-hour game, that's not too bad. Yeah. So is it like a first-person puzzle solver or?
Yeah, it's first-person. It's completely and you'll see fans of Blade Runner will know that's Rutger Hauer, who was in the original Blade Runner.
Who is he in Blade Runner?
He's the guy, one of the replicants, the one that he dies on the roof.
Oh,
it's like
Tear in the Rain
yeah.
guy. Oh, yeah, so it is.
No,
Speaking of people that was meant to be in Blade Runner, Edward James almost was meant to be in something recently, but he got cut. Predator, I think. But anyway, that's besides the point. Yeah.
That game, not film.
He's in Battlestar as well. Really.
He was in Battlestar. That's how I know him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I recognise him in Blade Runner after that.
Yeah.
No,
it's weird in Blade Runner, but
it's, as you can see, it was out a long time ago. But
yeah, this completely missed me. I had no idea this was out.
Yeah, the marketing wasn't great, and to be honest, I don't think they sold the game very well marketing-wise, like advertising-wise. I don't think it really explains what the game is about. I probably should mention as well, it is still scary. Like it's really unsettling. The thing that it does, while Layers of Fear could just sort of be classic haunting shit. We can swear, right?
Yeah, we can swear.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Yeah, cool.
It's a not safe for work podcast.
Cool. So while Layers of Fear is like classic haunting, scary, walking around the house, like haunted by your dead wife who occasionally kills you. This is more. This is more like spooking you with noises, like glitches in your ears, or wear it with headphones. Absolutely, you'll be like, it's honestly terrifying.
Let's give that a look.
Yeah,
definitely. I remember with Layers of Fear because it was a lot of like disturbing imagery was kind of the like underlying thing in that. I suppose it was like obviously you'd see paintings of really messed up stuff. Like, do you remember there was like a little baby with a beard?
Yes.
And he used to get about. He was really see if you can find it.
I was like, Layers of Fear doesn't ring a bell, and I was like, baby with the beard. I was like, where have I seen that before?
Google, Tom, and just Google beard baby Layers of Fear. Not Google.
Google.
Layers of Fear.
There he is!
No!
There he is. He's
like a reoccurring person.
Is that what? Do you think that's what the true part is?
Oh,
Scary.
we don't want a finale. We just want to see.
Scariest
We
part of
just
the
want
game,
to see
I
the
thought.
baby zoomed in.
Yeah.
There he is.
Wow.
Terrifying. Truly terrifying.
Terrifying.
So to remember the thumbnail that is, but
It's a really challenging point in the game to get past.
I never played Layers of Fear.
No, me
It was really
neither.
fun. I know I only played it early because I remember they added more stuff to it. I think it was in early access for a while. They added more levels. I remember playing like the first 2 or 3, like iterations of the painting. I never actually played the full game.
The final.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I never used to like horror games, and I hate the idea of horror games. Or I did, but honestly, in my advanced age, I think I've become a bit more nihilistic. I like the idea of just being scared to make me feel alive.
There are some horror games I'm interested in, but we'll get into them later.
I thought you didn't like
We'll bring up what I'm going to talk about later.
Because I mentioned that I was doing Outlast, and you're like, oh, that's not scary, and I was like,
What, Outlast?
I don't know.
Oh, you just
Well,
have high
I'd say
standards for
Outlast
horror.
gets a bit too formulaic.
Outlast
for me.
1. I enjoyed Outlast 1 because
Apparently
Outlast
Outlast
1 just terrified me because I was running away. My one complaint with those games is that even if I just had a camera, I would still be battering these people with a camera, even if I didn't have a weapon. Like, if you had a camera, last resort, you would be hitting them over the head with it. And the game is like, nope.
But you're a journalist in it, you
can
can't
only
damage
run,
your
you can't-
camera. That's
you
your
can't do
story.
anything.
That's
You're
a
a
good
journalist,
point.
which means you can't punch anyone.
That would be such a short game.
I have like such a strange reaction on Outlast 2 when if something bad is happening, I don't run away, I just walk calmly. I'm like, I'm just gonna turn around and I'm gonna walk that way. Is
Well,
that
have you
hole in
ever
the
heard-
fence? Great, I'm going under there. I don't know why I'm just like
Someone's chasing me.
I'm like, right, I'm
Okay.
just gonna like the woman comes out, I'm like, okay.
If they get me, whatever.
Have you ever heard the technique on how to avoid jump scares in horror games? So rather than turning round, and obviously that's when the jump scare hits you, is you look at the floor, spin 360 degrees, that triggers the jump scare, but you don't see it, and then you look up and it's fine. So you just hear like a loud noise, and you're like, okay.
Wow.
And then once it's passed, look up and walk.
That's the worst way to play horror games. That's terrible.
Tom, what have you been playing?
I have 2 options. I'm going to go with Danganronpa just because that's the game that I have more knowledge of. So, they were on sale on Steam. I'll find a trailer or something for one of them. Let's hope there's a trailer because these games are quite old.
Is there some Japanese
It's-
stuff?
Listen.
Oh, is this like that? Oh.
So,
No, man.
oh, we've got an ad. The basic premise of this game is you're a high school student and you're with 15 other high school students. You all get kidnapped and you all find yourselves in a school. And then like there's this weird teddy bear that you've probably seen in like other mainstream media or somewhere. You've probably seen him somewhere. And basically, he like subjects you into this killing game, and there's 15 other students, and basically what happens is every now and again someone will kill someone,
So Japanese.
and you've got to figure out who did the killing. But like the whole game is also like a Persona 5-esque, well not Persona 5, but Persona-esque. Oh, I'm living in a school and having friends. So you like make friends with these people, and then like the next day one of them could be dead. And then also you can make friends with someone and find out they killed someone the next day.
Is it one story or is it randomly generated?
It's one story, so you can't keep playing it, which is a shame. But there's 3 of them. I've played all 3 of them, and they're like a visual novel setting, and they're like it's like Phoenix Wright but on steroids. Basically, it's like a bit more intense and like it kind of like uses like shooter-esque mechanics with figuring out the puzzles and stuff.
Are you suggesting it's better than Phoenix Wright?
No, I think they're equal with each other.
Yeah.
But I think this game is great because you just become attached to the characters, and they like. There is some damn good twists in there, and also
What platform is it? Oh, did you say they're all coming to PlayStation as well?
They're on PlayStation because I played them on PlayStation. They were originally on PSP, but they've been ported to PS4, and they're also on PC, I believe.
Nice.
I'd
Yeah,
love to
they're
get a Switch port of these.
And they're also like as students, they're all like specially talented at stuff. Like
Oh, you were saying they're all like the master of their.
they're all like the
field.
best at one thing. So I'm gonna try and find a character that I can like pause on. Let's go back over here.
I swear that teddy bear was from Persona or something.
It
No,
is.
you've probably seen
Wait,
him in like anime stuff.
well, why did I think it
He's
was
the
on
ultimate. He's the wrong person. The ultimate affluent progeny, which basically means he's like a
Gosh.
businessman, bigwig, who's like part of a really influential family, and he thinks he's top shit. She's the ultimate swimmer. She's a better person to use. She is the ultimate swimming pro, and she's just really good at swimming.
But surely this would be really good as like it's randomised every time.
It would be, but that would also take a lot of effort.
Yeah, true.
Because like there is like an overarching story to it.
Okay, sure.
Where like there's like a wire weave, and because they go to this school, they pass out, and then they're in the killing game, and they're like, how did we get here? Blah blah blah. And then at the end, in like the final, because it's split up into 5 different cases, but the 5th case isn't. Basically, in the 5th case, everything comes to light, and you figure stuff out. I'm trying to like not go into too much spoilers about the case
Is
structures.
is it the same characters in each one?
No.
Or, so you also get these
So
like
in the
new...
first one you get a cast of 16, the second one you get a new cast of 16,
That's
the third
good.
one you get another cast of 16.
And is it the same people as the 3DS games and the DS games where it's like 999 virtual?
I think
Oh,
it's
yeah,
in the
right.
9 rooms, 9.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I think
Is it
they
the
do
same people?
have relation to each other. I'll
Okay.
check.
Because they were sick.
Oh my God.
I mean, they were long, but they were sick.
Yes, I
We-
think
I
they
never
are
played bits
developed
of
by
the
the same.
first
Yes,
one,
Chunsoft,
but I
they're
really
the
like
same
the
people.
concept.
Cool.
Because I've seen I think they're doing a collaboration. They're doing a mixture of Danganronpa and 999 at some point, where they're like it's going to be like a mixture of both.
Yeah, what's the one on 3DS called? Is it like virtual V something?
I don't know. I feel like they've done a recent one, the 999 people.
Yeah, man.
Because
And they keep bringing
this
back
is why I
like
brought it up a while
remasters as
ago.
well. Because I've been. Should I put on 999 app?
Yeah.
If you want.
Mate, that game is going to look
999 was your
emergency.
emergency. I did start
The
playing
specific.
999 as well. I started
Yeah.
playing that, didn't I? And then I gave up.
I got like halfway through, but it did get long.
Such
The
a good
nonary
game.
games.
But it was a lot like the Phoenix Wright games. Like, I think that was a really good comparison, to be honest. Like, I went into them and got bored halfway through. Like, they're really good, but
Yeah, but that's the thing. You have to be in the right mood for these types of games because they are like that in the most basic sense, they aren't games. If that makes any sense.
yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
although,
Some
because
rails.
with Phoenix Wright, I don't think there is. Most of Phoenix Wright isn't a game. Like most of it is
You
just
gotta
tapping
read.
through.
Yeah.
While Danganronpa does a better balance of that, where in the like case trials you're like shooting the words that are lies with what you think disputes those lies. It's a very odd mechanic, but like, and there's also like a rhythm game for you like destroying whoever's the actual killer and stuff like that.
As
It
in
sounds
every-
surreal.
As in every murder.
It sounds surreal, but it's really good fun.
Cool.
I think I know what the other game is going to be that you were going to talk about, but we'll get onto that in a bit because I'm guessing that's a bit more of a recent release.
No, it
Was
was
that-
a game I was been playing on Steam.
Oh, alright, go on. What was your?
It was Tyranny.
What is Tyranny?
If you've ever heard of Pillars of Eternity, it's basically the same people as them, but from what I know, it's like a really refreshing take on the RPG genre. So, long story short, it's a very complicated story, and I don't even fully wrap my head around it because these types of games are like information sponges where you have to
Of course, it's obviously
take in as much as
paradox.
you want. But you're basically in like a continent that's been taken over by this really tyrannical government called Kairos. He's called Kairos, and you are like one of his like government bigwigs who like goes and enforces his law everywhere. So you have this like question of morality where you play a character who is meant to be at their purest sense an arsehole. But like you can also like be playing the game and be like low key like going over to these people that you're meant to be dealing with and like sowing rebellion with them and being like, hey, we should rebel against the guy that I'm working for. Or you can go and be full on like, hey,
It's quite an
gonna
interesting take because I
oppress you.
suppose normally you're either put in a situation in RPGs like that where you either start off as a blank canvas and you can do either, or you start off as a good guy like by default and you
Yeah.
kind of have to do evil stuff to become evil. So it's nice to be put in like what is essentially a bad position from the get-go and then work your way from there. I think that's quite an interesting concept.
But the thing is, what's good about this type of game is that although there are those choices don't mean you're being a certain way. Like,
yeah.
my character, I'm playing like a mage. She's like she knows what she wants and she's going to do what she thinks is the smartest way to do it. So she doesn't do, I'm just going to make, I feel bad for these people, I'm going to help these people because in the long run it's better for me to do it.
Mhm.
So it gives you that choice to also do that because I think it hasn't really pushed me in the box of being like, I love rebellion yet. But from what I know, and at the beginning of the game, you do this thing where, I'll pause it on something, this will do. I think there's a bit at the beginning of the game where you go through like a conquest. They went through the process of dominating the continent and you were involved. And you get to make specific choices on like different areas. And then by doing that, when you start playing the game, you will go back to any of those areas and they will have, like, the areas can be completely different based on whether you pick to do something in that area. And like they're all aware. Like in one of them, I murdered one of the queens of their town, and they all called me Queen Slayer for the whole game.
Oh.
But when I played it before, I didn't do anything in that area, and they were all just fairly passive with me. But they hated me the second time around because they were like, "You killed the queen. We don't like you," and it was like a bit more interesting. But yeah.
So unfair.
That's so unfair.
Yeah, how dare they accuse me and be angry at me for killing their queen? But yeah, they're the two types of games I've been playing.
Chloe, what have you been playing over summer?
So this is like right at the beginning of summer now, but I spent the first part of summer finishing off God of War. which you lent me. But that was my first ever like experience with God of War, and it took me like a solid 20 hours to decide that I liked it. But yeah, that's what I spent my early summer doing.
So what were your thoughts on it?
I actually
Spoiler-free,
really liked
obviously,
it.
I
Oh
haven't
god, it's gonna
played
be
it.
hard. It ends up being very different to what I thought. I felt like for the first few hours, I couldn't work out what I was meant to be experiencing. I couldn't work out what the game was trying to be like, because I felt like it was doing lots of different things. And then it just, by the end of it, I was a big fan, basically. I feel like those characters they expanded on in ways which I didn't think they would, and then I don't know, from what I knew of the game, I just didn't expect it to be the way it was. I'm trying really hard not to like give anything away.
Well, this is my problem. I'm hearing really good things about this game, but I still don't fully I don't think I still understand what this game is going to play like.
Yeah.
I've somehow avoided any gameplay other than some stuff that was at E3, which wasn't really gameplay from what I remember. But like, I still have no idea what this game is going to play like, and no one is ever really giving me any indication, but I also don't think I want to know. I know, from what I know, the combat is hard.
I think it's really difficult. I started the game on hardest difficulty and then had to switch down because it was just, and switch to normal because it got too much. But I think it's really satisfying combat. Once you get into all the rhythms and the mechanics of it, I think it's really satisfying.
Yeah.
It's very, very like detailed and deep.
I am also apprehensive of the Last of Us format though.
I was thinking this. I think this is a regular thing because
Father figure and child.
Because it wasn't just Last of Us. It reminded me a lot of Logan as well, where it's this kind of.
But Logan did the same thing as
exactly.
well.
I think I think it goes back earlier than Last of Us as well. I think Last of Us.
Last of Us was the first thing that.
In game it.
Format
I will say like
into video games, I would say definitely. I think it's been like it's quite an old trope in terms of film. A lot of it relates a lot back to like old westerns. I would say kind of like the grizzled gunslinger going
bringing like a farmhand.
And then actually realizing that he wants to be a good person as opposed to a bad person. I think, but it works really really well with Kratos. And I think one thing I've spoken about in the past with it is that the style of the game and everything about the game feeds into this general idea of Kratos being like a different person and the game being a different game as a result. Yeah. So the first three, should I say, and all the spin-offs are very like over the top, gratuitous, lots of gore, lots of sex, like lots of blood. It's just like, and it's just like, it's very hyper masculine and it's very over the top, and he's a character that suits that setting. Now that he's become a bit more grizzled and a bit more I don't know. Wise, I suppose, with it. It's like everything about it, even down to the camera angle, which I think is a really good way of doing it, is that rather than these big sweeping camera angles and him flying around with the blades of chaos, it's very close to him, and he's got an axe, and it's very like chunky, and I really loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
From what I can see, it's very cinematic. Is that just this trailer, or is it actually very cinematic?
I thought it
was.
Well,
the thing that's really good is like the camera never cuts away. It never changes. It's always like one continuous tracking shot.
It's always following.
I will say I didn't.
It's not necessarily always following Kratos, but it's never. There's no loading screens, so there's no. It maybe pans away from him, but there's no loading screens. And there is obviously, but they're hidden very well.
If you die.
If you die, that's the one.
It's amazing that they're willing to take such a big risk with it. I mean, maybe it wasn't internally, but it seems like it. I mean, it's so different to the original 3, and they changed the character so much. Like you say, they didn't need to do any of that. They could have released the same sort of game with better graphics, and it would have been okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I mean.
I don't know if it would have been okay. They would have done it, and everyone would have been like typical God of War. But I think
they would have done it well.
But I think God of War's got enough backing behind it as a franchise that it would have done well.
It would have received a lot of controversy, though. I feel.
But
I agree. I don't think that kind of game. I think that kind of game is some way dated to a mainstream audience.
I don't know. I think the genre's still.
No, but it's all the shagging, isn't it?
I've
watched like some of the set scenes on YouTube.
There was to be fair, there's a bit in God of War 3 where you sleep with Aphrodite, and if you do well at her two handmaids in the corner also start getting off.
Oh,
just command the sheer masculinity.
I just think you can't do that. You wouldn't be able to get away with that now.
I agree.
I feel like if they'd have just stuck with their same formula, like I'd have never bought it. I didn't buy it anyway. I used yours, but I'd have never gotten into it. So I think it was a risk I'd definitely paid.
I also think that
more people are getting into it.
When I first heard that this was the start of a new trilogy, then I was like, oh my god, there's gonna be another God of War trilogy. Like, come on, it's over. Now that I've seen this one and they've opened it up to other like worlds, and they've said that there's other realms as well. It's not just Norse. There's hints. I won't ruin too much, but there's hints of other mythologies.
I'm up for Egyptian next, just saying.
Well, then you should play the game then and find out.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Did you just remember?
Yeah.
But no, it's really good. I would definitely recommend it. It's and actually you
The
can
combat's not too bad. Like if you do all the side stuff, because I did all the side stuff as I went along, then I kind of found I was a bit overpowered at times. But it depends if you want to do all the side stuff as you go. I feel like you'd probably do all the side stuff.
That's way more fun.
Yeah, you'd rather that than the grind, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you're still wielding a massive axe that comes back to you.
It's all just as satisfying. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, oh, that was too easy, because it was quite fun. So.
I'm so excited to play it.
Anyway, on to me.
I do want to quickly at one point bash Witcher 2, but
that's a bit out of the blue.
Whoa, where did that come
That game from 2011?
Yeah, sorry, I've just been recently playing Witcher 2, so I just...
Okay, we'll get on fan and we'll bash Witcher 2. If we have time, we'll bash Witcher 2. No, the main ones I've been playing, so I've played I played a bit of God of War, and again, I've spoken a bit about that.
Have you done the Valkyries?
I haven't done the Valkyries, I need to go back and finish them. I've seen the end of them
I
now.
did one.
They are so...
And it was...
Valkyria Chronicles?
No, so it's a bit in God of War. They're like these super... They're like side bosses, but they are really difficult. And they're like the epitome of having to really concentrate, use all of your abilities. And they're very fun, and again, they're very satisfying.
After I did the first one, I had to kind of lay down and be
but you have to, like,
oh my god.
you couldn't just bash through them, even if you are completely powered up.
Is
this God of War?
Yeah.
Do you want me to get off
it?
Well, I was gonna go and put it on something else, but this will do.
The other thing I was playing was I played a lot of the Battlefield beta when that was out. I really enjoyed that game. A lot of people didn't enjoy it. I'm quite sad about that. I know one thing I'd quite like to get your takes on really was the decision recently that DICE have come out and said they are going to cut back a lot of the customization after fan feedback. And personally, for me, I think that's a shame. Not only because I think well, I think they've not said anything specific, but I'm guessing it's stuff like the amputee arm, like the colourful hair, like the face paint, all that stuff. Which for me, I thought it was really dumb. First of all, there's a few problems with it.
Can you explain the amputee arm?
Okay, so
I've lost track of
what
that meant.
There was
the amputee arm.
So there was a character in the first trailer who has this is the trailer. You will see her in a minute. She's got, if you look her I can't remember if it's her arm. Yeah, her arm. She's got like that metal arm. Which is, again, it's just like a little customization thing that you could do in it. I really enjoyed that style of customization. For me, I thought that the new Battlefield, rather than just being another generic World War II shooter, which I've played 1,000,001 times and I don't really want to play again, it seemed that it was going a bit more, not arcade or cartoony, but just a bit more vibrant and a bit more...
Fun.
Even fun, I don't want to use in World War II because it's not a fun thing. It's a bit more like a video game. It's a bit more video game.
Realistic tone.
Yeah, and for me, it reminded me a lot of Overwatch, and the idea of the customization and the reward system for playing reminded me a lot of Overwatch, and you've played a lot of Overwatch, so you know that like the idea of skins and like the loot boxes in Overwatch is done really well, and it's really rewarding, and like it's actually when you get something good, you're like, oh my god, I want to show that off.
I think the problem is that people that typically enjoy Battlefield and Call of Duty and stuff, I will put them in the same box because they are the same type of realistic shooters. I think they are the type of people that don't. They're the type of people that don't typically enjoy the games like Overwatch, which are a bit more fun and like it's like people that enjoy Overwatch are more the people that enjoy like League of Legends and stuff like that. I think although I'm not saying that people that like Battlefield don't like Overwatch, I think that Battlefield getting an Overwatch feel is scary for Battlefield players because it's not what they play the game for.
Yeah. See, that's a shame because I've been playing Battlefield for a long time, and I would say that's one of the things that I do get the game for. Is I like the idea that there's like a plane that could fly into a tank and you might jump out that plane last minute and shoot a rocket at someone. I thought that the over-the-top violence and fun of it was like, and it's just like, there was this thing that they used to use in all the marketing called Battlefield Moments, where it would be like a short 3-minute clip of something unbelievably ridiculous and epic happening on screen and be like, this is Battlefield, you can do all this stuff. And I thought that worked really well with the kind of more fun tone of it. What were you going to say, Nick?
I was going to say, I guess for my point of view, I think it was sold really poorly, and that's not a comment on the decisions that have had a lot of feedback that are maybe more socially conscious, and it's not about them. It's more the fact that it's I just think I think one of you said that it's not why people buy Battlefield, and I think they maybe, especially in the marketing, lost sight of why people play Battlefield. And I also don't think there's many other games that really fit the specific place in the market that Battlefield does. And so I think that when Battlefield seemed to be going in quite a few drastic directions all at once, especially tonally and visually, and especially after
Battlefield 1, which is like the greatest, dullest game.
This is the thing, you know, like Battlefield 1's trailer, which was Seven Nation Army, like that remix, and it was unreal. It was the best, for me, the best ever trailer for a game. It got everyone hyped up, and also at the same time, Infinite Warfare came out and bombed with the like fucking dreadful trailer. So that sort of tipped the balance. And then last year, I think, because it's always this kind of like underground meta game between COD and Battlefield. And I think last year when COD came out and delivered a serious World War II game that sold bucket loads, I think people were expecting the same back from Battlefield. And I think they're trying to do too much different at once, personally.
I think they're trying to run a race they've never been running.
That's the thing, but they've got previous in being fun and kooky and stuff with Bad Company, which was amazing.
Or like, did you ever play any of their arcade ones, like 1942 or Heroes and stuff? And I thought they were really fun, enjoyable games.
They already had established that tone from the get-go.
Exactly.
With this in like the poster and stuff, I would never have thought it was the way you're telling me it is now.
Yeah.
And like watching that trailer when I was seeing the there was like the kookiness was like kind of.
It's jarring.
It wasn't being like, oh my god, this is really weird, but you could just notice stuff that you were like, what? Like the arm thing, I was just like, oh, she has a weird arm and her eyes are like a bright blue for some reason.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I felt like it was there and it wasn't really explaining why it's there, and it hasn't explained it there, why it's there for its marketing at all.
It's different for the sake of it, and you have to wonder whether you hit the nail on the head there, and they're trying to appeal to people who are from that sort of Overwatch crowd for no other reason than it is really lucrative to create skins for people, to create like different things that people want to buy extra to play in the multiplayer, and that's the problem.
Trying to appeal to those people, they're not even thinking about Battlefield. That's the problem.
That's it.
None of them are even looking at it, and you're going, "Hey, Overwatch fans, come play us." But Overwatch fans are too busy playing Overwatch.
Seeing a blue face paint doesn't make me want to pick it up. Sorry.
I wonder whether it's. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of mismanagement with PUBG, but PUBG versus Fortnite as well. The idea that a game that's much more colourful and open to loads of different people playing, and like, you know, it feels much more like available to play.
It's accessible.
That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, it's much more. It feels much more accessible, and you have to wonder whether they've realised that Battlefield in its current state can't. It's sort of hit a ceiling, and they have to try and move it in certain different ways to kind of gain new market, gain different types, different demographics that they hadn't necessarily got before, and maybe they've done it to such a degree that they're losing their current fan base.
When was 4? When did that come out?
4 was
4 years ago. The last one was 1, which was 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, correct. They did a remake.
Done it in a really weird order, yeah. This is actually, so we've got this Battlefield V.
With the remake of 1, I remember thinking that was like...
down. It's like
downtime. It's not 5, it's just V.
Yeah.
Go on,
I remember with 1 and the revamp of that, and I remember seeing that, and I remember thinking like, oh, that's a really good idea to like go back to the beginning and like try and revitalise it that way. But yeah, if this is what they're doing to try and get new people, I think it's a bit weak.
I'm not engaged. As a person that doesn't play Battlefield, I'm not feeling anyway inclined to pick it up.
I think that's a shame. Because I think the scope and some of the ideas gameplay wise in this are like really, really good and really suit the game. But I think the marketing for it has been poor.
It's odd because it's trying to be more catering towards another audience, but all it's really doing by doing that is upsetting its audience that it's already got. Because like by appealing to another audience who aren't listening, it's also upsetting everyone that is already engaged, and then they're shooting themselves in the foot almost. They should have just kept with. Although I think the customisation's great, even then I'm still probably never going to play it because it's just not my game. Yeah. They've strayed far away from what they already do, but also kept what they do there, if that makes sense. Like, it's still Battlefield, but they're trying to do Overwatch with it.
But what they're aiming for is already saturated. Overwatch is there.
Yeah.
And they announced Battle Royale, and people audibly booed them.
Wait,
Yeah.
are they doing,
Oh
are they
my
doing
gosh,
a Battlefield battle
Yeah,
Royale?
the Battle Royale mode
Dreadful.
does look pretty
Oh.
poor.
This is the thing. I don't know what any of it looks like. I have to admit, I haven't gone out my way for trailers, but I mean, I haven't seen any gameplay of it. Still.
There was like kind of gameplay there, but
it's not in. It's not in. It's not in.
The gun moving around.
I mean, I'm assuming you mean Battle Royale gameplay or Battlefield
Honestly,
gameplay.
just Battlefield 5 in general.
There's a lot of gameplay of it because with the beta, like
now
there is, yeah.
But in the lead up to that, I think, especially at E3, which is a huge chance. I mean, they got their own stage to show off gameplay. They didn't really.
Yeah, what did you
There was a closed. There was a
Exactly.
to be fair, there was a closed alpha for a bit, and that did get a lot of. There was a lot of footage from that. But anyway, before we end up getting stuck on this topic, so we can either talk about recent releases, particularly one that you've played, one that I've played, which is Tomb Raider and Spider-Man, and you can talk about them.
I don't have much to say about Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
But I think you've got a lot of opinions.
I have a lot of opinions.
You might not have played it for long.
You know I do.
Or we can go on to EGX. So it's up to you guys. Which would you?
Shadow, I don't mind going into Shadow because it's not very long.
We can talk a few minutes about Spider-Man.
I have stuff I want to say about Spider-Man.
Okay, so go on. Tomb Raider first.
Should we do Shadow first?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. I started playing it this morning.
Where is she?
So you got it this morning. What are your thoughts? You had a lot of. Well, actually, what were your thoughts going into it? Because I know that you had a lot of things.
If anyone's read my piece, wink wink. I basically think that Lara has become a blank slate of boredom, moaniness, and she gets beaten up a lot.
Does she still get beaten up a lot in the new one?
Yeah, I've played like the first hour and she's definitely been beaten up. She was in like a tsunami. And she got beaten up a lot. So, first impressions is Lara. I do think that Lara is more of a character than she has been in the last two games. She does have a bit more confidence to her. She still gets thrown about, which is like, well, she's not really that confident, is she? 'Cause she's still getting beaten up. But I think that they have started to realise that people want a Lara that isn't as inept.
Yeah, like I said this a while ago. Like if you had to sit next to like that Lara on a train for like several hours, you'd hate it. You just wouldn't want to talk to her. So you have to spend that time with her in game, and it just gets a bit.
You say that, I
Train
would
of
still
the
hate sitting next to Shadow of the Tomb Raider Lara. Like Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but Shadow of the Tomb Raider Lara is a terrible character in a way where it's intentional.
By the sound of it, she just rob you in Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Well, the premise is that she's hunting for this artifact. Have you played? Do you know anything about the other two games?
Yeah, I played the first one.
There's a rival. There's a villain. I won't go into too much detail about them. They're looking for an artifact. She's racing them to it. She panics, takes the artifact. Things go wrong. She then blames herself, and there's this whole thing with she causes the death of loads of people, and she's going through this conflict. It's all very mopey drama. However, so far they've made it very aware that what I was expecting was that Lara was going to be crying the whole time and being like, oh my god, I'm a terrible person, oh my god. But what I think they've done interesting is Lara isn't quite aware that she's a terrible person, but everyone around her is low-key like thinking it. They're all like, you've done some bad things, and she's also like, she's still like dead set on getting stuff done, and she's like forgetting that people are dying around her. And I think it's quite interesting to watch. Is it the Lara Croft I want? Not really. I obviously haven't played that far in. She has cracked jokes, funnily enough. She has said jokes.
Were they funny jokes?
That's the question.
Anyone can crack a
If
joke.
I had to equate them to a humour, they would be like a budget Uncharted comedy. They're like there's like a dynamic of, because there's Jonah, if you know who Jonah is, who she's been travelling with for the last two games. They have this like, she like bounces off him a few times, which is refreshing to see because she never used to bounce off him. But they are trying to be like Uncharted in a lot of ways. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. What I do approve of is the difficulties, because they've changed the because there's a lot of people that don't like the combat. And I don't mind the combat, but there's like also people don't like how much it handholds you through the last two games, because there's the survival instincts that literally show you where to go. And when in the first demo of Tomb Raider 2013, what I found really interesting was they were like, oh, she found the bow on her way to get back. She's going to have to get back to the camp. And she does that by following the stream back the way she came, which is flowing this way now. And I was like, oh my god, that's actually how nature works. That's really smart. And then I played it, and it was like, oh, I'm going to hit survival instincts. It was like, there you go over there. And I'm like,
yeah.
Well, I'm not following a stream, am I? I'm
That's
following
not natural.
a big beam of light that comes when I like focus. But yeah, they've also followed a very similar format. Lara gets stranded again. Do I think the environment is better than a gulag? Absolutely.
Oh my god, thank God.
Was this Rise?
Right,
Rise is set in a
in a gulag.
which is a very awkward. I don't think I rated Tomb Raider 2013's that much because it did just feel like an island.
Yeah.
In the most like you could have been in like. You could have been anywhere, honestly. It didn't feel like a Japanese island, it felt like an island anywhere. It could have been Isle of Wight for all I cared.
So you haven't been to the Isle of Wight, have you?
No.
So, was it you or Chloe that let me Rise? It's one of yours.
Chloe,
yeah.
yeah.
I can't remember whose game it is. They all get passed
I
around.
don't know if I even have that anymore. I don't know.
I've got it.
Did you? Oh, you have it?
I still have it, but I
I
had it over summer. This is the thing. I started playing that and it just bored the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie.
But the thing is, the
But
story
I thought there
in
just
Rise,
wasn't any
the
character or
story in
charm.
Rise is great because it gets to the end and you're like, oh my god.
That in, the
They
ending of
show
Rise is
the
good.
villain, which I'm still trying to be wary of not naming because you haven't played. But the villain is like integrated. They were even like mentioned in Tomb Raider 2013, and I think they've built it up quite well. There's a weird plot device that I'm not fully on board with, which I'll be wary of mentioning in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which was like, oh my god, do you have to do this again? And it's to do with Lara's parents again.
Oh.
But the thing, I don't know where the Lara's parents thing has come from. I know that was it the Eidos trilogy?
It was Crystal Dynamics.
Crystal in Legend and Anniversary they brought that up. They're like, when they were going, oh, we're going to remaster Tomb Raider, something tells me deep down they were thinking of remastering the Legends Tomb Raider and not the Tomb Raider from Tomb Raider 2, because I still don't see any qualities between the two.
She never had a past, did she, really?
Well,
No, it was all
no,
kind of
there's a
ambiguous.
past that's never mentioned if you look it up. Basically
Yeah.
what happened was Lara was in a plane with her husband, a fiancé. They had a plane crash. He died, and then she lived in the Himalayas for a little bit, survived, and was like, you know what, I like this, and kept doing it.
But it was never in game. It was
That
always
is-
like
that
extra
is the
trivia.
premise of Lara, and it
didn't.
didn't. But it didn't need to be any more than that. No one was wondering, oh, I wonder what Lara's parents were like. I wonder why her mum is dead. Her mum and dad aren't even dead in the games, in the old ones. They just hate her. They don't like her because she's straying away from like the like posh upper classiness of it all. Because she's like, I'm gonna go adventuring instead, and they're like, you're not the daughter we wanted. Which no one ever questioned it. No one ever took a step back and went.
So, Tomb Raider, so-so. You'd say so far.
I think it's promising. What I think I'm going to come to the end of it and think is, it's not a perfect game, but out of this Survivor Reborn trilogy, it's probably going to be the best one.
But do you also think that by the third game,
No,
it should be better?
should have been here already.
What,
Basically,
like however much money
Shadow
you
of
spent
Tomb Raider
later.
should have been the first in the trilogy.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back at the reviews for Rise and
The Rise, it got so many Game of the Year awards, and it just, I didn't get it even
Tomb
at the
Raider
time.
got
Like,
a lot as well. To be fair.
like Rise is on like 93 or something.
yeah,
like
like
that,
I will love Lara forever, but I do like when I see all those come out, I'm like, that's just
But I
naff.
think
Like
the
it's
thing
not
is-
right. Like you play through it and you're like,
Is Tomb
Really?
Raider's not a bad game per se? It's a bad game in the eyes of people that appreciate Lara. Do you know what I mean? There's so many people there. If you go into Twitter, you'll find so many people that are just attached to Tomb Raider and Lara as a character, and they love her so much. There's like there's the Dark Angel happening. There's just so many people that love it to pieces, and Tomb Raider 2013, although it was a good game in its own right, was just not a Tomb Raider game. Like people played it and was like, I thought Tomb Raider 2013 was so combat heavy, and I know the old games did have a lot
Very
of
much
combat,
so, yeah.
but like.
oh, they didn't really.
There was very few tombs in it,
had
to be
their
fair. They said
bits.
there's very few tombs.
Yeah,
it was
where
like
were
a
the
running
tombs?
joke.
Where were the
Well,
tombs?
They had the side mission ones, but they were rubbish.
Their
They were
side
like-
missions
they were
in
dumb.
Shadow again.
I remember when I was a kid, I had Tomb Raider 1 and Tomb Raider 3, and I remember being too young to understand how to play them properly. I used to have to turn on all the cheats that I got in my little guide.
Oh, did you have like a book?
Yeah. But
Oh yeah, I turned on the all weapons or unlimited ammo.
I
cheats all the
couldn't
time.
even like shoot people properly.
It's
I
just
mean,
because I wanted to
Tomb Raider
avoid the
3
combat.
Well, no. See, Tomb Raider 3.
That's the hardest one.
That was in
Shoot,
Egypt,
like-
yeah. Right?
No, that's Last Revelation.
Yeah, Last
Oh,
Revelation
yeah,
starts.
Yeah. All right. So Last Revelation.
No, it starts in Cambodia.
But it's
Revelation.
it's
and
then
then
goes
it
to
goes to
Egypt.
Egypt,
Yeah.
and then that's where it stays.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So
We're
I
being
just,
picky.
but all I remember is just getting stuck on puzzle after puzzle, and that was my memory of the game.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't like that. Maybe it's just they were the bits that were hard. But like that definitely wasn't the case with these newest ones I've played.
I feel like we're gonna have to have a podcast dedicated to what's
Tomb
happening.
Raider.
We
Yeah.
should,
Tomb
so we should stop talking about Tomb
forever.
Raider soon.
But
We are talking about
I'm
what
going to say this now so I don't forget when we watch this back. I'll remember what you said about Uncharted and comparisons. There's something that's what I'm going to remember.
Would you want
Just
to
because
briefly
at the end
summarise?
of Uncharted 2, Lazarevich turns around to Nathan Drake and goes, "Well, what's the difference between you and me? How many men have you killed?" And it's like I find it strange
They're
that they've gone
repeating
to
that in
show
Shadow
Lara's
now.
humanness to add depth to her. They're going for guilt, whereas in Uncharted they don't go for guilt to make in different ways. You know, him and Elena, blah blah blah. I feel like there's different ways you can make a character seem human and in depth without doing the way they've done it in this new Tomb Raider.
Without chucking in a backstory.
Yeah,
well, what
I
I
feel
just
like-
think is great is they haven't made a mope. She's not like going, "Oh, I'm so upset that I've killed all these people." She's still like, she's like semi-oblivious to it in a way where you can tell she's intentionally pretending
like,
that
block
it
it.
didn't happen,
Yeah.
which I think is a smart move in the character development, and it wasn't what I was expecting. So I'm feeling a bit better about that whole side of it.
Speaking of characters who aren't supposed to kill people, tell us about Spider-Man.
Yes.
A man who kills many people in that game, he doesn't. Well, he can. I don't know. He's never. You never know in
It's
the game
never,
people.
it's never shown.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been playing Spider-Man the past few weeks, and I have loved every minute. I think it's so enjoyable. I think there are a lot of problems with the game. I'm not going to act like it's the perfect game at all. It's an open world that is filled with open world tropes. As you go here and get this thing, you climb radio towers to reveal map.
I've never heard of that before.
Is this Ubisoft?
Exactly. It feels like a proper Ubisoft like open world, and that on surface seems really bad. But because the gameplay is just so enjoyable and so fun that even when you're doing really mundane stuff, you're enjoying doing it. It's very clever how they've kind of managed to perfect the Spider-Man element of it. Again, there's other problems with it. So a big part of the story is so I'll to summarise kind of where we are in this version of the timeline. Spider-Man, Peter Parker has been Spider-Man for 8 years. He is a veteran at it. The start of the game is him taking down Wilson Fisk, Kingpin, and seemingly kind of who's meant to be his arch nemesis. So seemingly like hitting peak Spider-Man, and then obviously the game follows the sort of power vacuum that's been left in Fisk's absence.
Is that real time?
Is that a real man?
I've never
What's
seen this
going
trailer.
on?
I don't even know who this is meant to be in the game.
Right, anyway,
What?
But anyway,
is
regardless,
What's that?
so
what's happened?
so a big part of the
That's
game
a big
is that it follows Peter quite a lot. It's about his kind of backstory and about him dealing with being Spider-Man, and it's done in a really interesting way. We don't see all the usual bollocks that we
Thank
get from
God.
a Spider-Man thing.
He
Where it's
got
like
bit by a spider.
he got bit by a spider,
Uncle
Uncle Ben
Ben.
dies.
Oh, God.
He wrestles for a bit, like all that usual shit. Like he looks at Mary Jane and wants to be with her. At the start of this game, one thing that's really interesting is that he's just gotten out of a relationship with Mary Jane. They'd split up 6 months before the start of the game, but they're still like on mutual terms because they're mates, they're long-term mates, and they're both adults.
Semi-segue into the Black Cat DLC.
Probably. I mean, I've not finished the game fully, so I don't really know where the MJ storyline's going to go.
But I'm assuming it's to lead into the Black Cat thing, because the Black Cat was apparently, from what I know, sue me if I get this comic knowledge wrong, she was before Mary Jane. She was the first ever Spider-Man romance.
So Felicia Hardy's like, it's like a toxic relationship with
It's like
Spider-Man.
Catwoman.
She's like
Batman's
yeah,
Catwoman,
kind
yeah.
of. It's and Felicia Hardy's in it, and the Black Cat. Like the storyline's really good. That's like a side mission. But yeah, no, it's really fun. I'm loving it. You had some issues with it
The mini games.
from when you played.
I just think, right, I know I talk about Kingdom Hearts all the time, but in the Kingdom Hearts trailers, like, you just get the gist from that, like, that is how you do a mini game. And I just think the mini games in Spider-Man are really weak, but I'll go back to something else. I don't think Spider-Man needs to be the perfect game to be perfect for what it is. Like,
Yeah.
you play it to be Spider-Man, to swing
And if you
around,
could be
to jump
Spider-Man,
off the
then it's
Empire
that
State
job.
Building.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. It's
So-
like that it's a perfect Spider-Man game.
Yeah, like-
absolutely.
Did you just use Kingdom Hearts as a tool to explain something that makes sense and is really transparent?
Yes.
That's not what happens in Kingdom Hearts. Nothing makes sense.
Incredible.
But, like, I just think there was a lot of hype around Spider-Man, and I got the impression that everyone was like, oh, this game's gonna get, like, 9s out of 10s, 10s out of 10s, and I was just kind of like, And then when I saw these, I was like, it doesn't need to hit
Absolutely.
every
is he
box to
not
be
an
perfect at being a
Is he not a
Spider-Man
high
game.
school student in this?
No,
game?
he
No,
works in a
don't.
lab with Otto Octavius.
Whoa.
But he's a good guy. But will he stay a good guy? Who knows?
Who knows?
Otto Octavius hasn't done anything nefarious in previous iterations, so
And then
yeah,
this is the transition.
that's also really
Yes.
cool. One, it does that a
was
lot,
so
where it
good.
transitions directly into gameplay, and it does it so well, and it's all very cinematic, and again, it all adds to this feeling that you are Spider-Man.
Yeah, see,
and
It's
that
it's
great.
is just
the
what you
swinging
want,
mechanic's great. That's
Perfect.
what I
Right,
like to
see,
know.
this is what I've heard.
this is the minute
So-
swinging perfect, spot on.
So like the swinging games could literally just be the game itself.
Absolutely.
It's so
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Again, there's fast travel in the game. I never use the fast
No,
travel because I actually just
yeah.
enjoy swinging around. Even the combat's very basic. It's like your typical spider sense flashes over his head, you dodge, and then you can hit after. It's like
So Batman,
Batman,
Yeah.
Shadow Mordor, all that stuff. They've done it a million times well, but it's so fun to do, and it throws in enough like Spider-Man elements like web shooting, gadgets, obviously him doing like flips and stuff, that it still stays fun. Yeah, no, I've like I said, I've really enjoyed it. I think it's pretty good. Any other questions about it? Anything you want?
I just one of the coolest things for me about it, especially compared to something like Prototype, which I surprised myself with and would just walk around the city for hours, just like building up my like kind of meter of absorption. I think that's all it was. And then you could do your superpower where you just like killed a bunch of people, and that was really fun to do just when you were feeling annoyed. But I feel like a lot of the time with Prototype, you build up a lot of momentum in the city, and then you just kind of get stopped by something. You'd stop on something. Whereas on this, I'm pretty sure there's mechanics so that when you hit a wall or something,
just run.
it
You never-
adapts
keep
it.
So there's
going.
no like
That's so clever.
right. So it's one of them where if you don't know how to swing when you first start in the game, you still swing around and it feels fine. And you like I said, you kind of rather than just bouncing off stuff or stopping dead, you keep running, you keep moving. You might not always be going in the direction you want, but it's very easy to adjust then after and still look very cinematic.
Yeah, and the music gets really cool.
Exactly,
Like, you
and it's
start to
got
swing,
this-
like
It's got like this big
Because-
score that builds up, and then it's simple to use, but when you master it, it's so satisfying. When you actually get good at traversing the city and you can move and you're moving at like top speed constantly without breaking momentum, it's fantastic. One negative about it, and kind of leaning off what you were saying about the mini games. The mini games are kind of a bit boring, and one that I do like about the game is that it explores other characters. So there's bits where you play as MJ, you play as Miles Morales.
I'm going to
He
enjoy
plays
the
and,
MJ bit.
well, this is the thing. The MJ bits are really good as a character. MJ in it is a really interesting. So she's not a actress or a model in this. She's actually a journalist. So she's taken a lot of the things that Peter used to do, and she's implemented it herself. And she's a really good character, really well written, really well performed. But the gameplay mechanics of her bits are so boring and so one-dimensional.
That's a shame.
So it's basically stealth mechanics. So you're like sneaking through guards to get to a point. But the problem with the stealth in the game is the stealth when you're playing as Spider-Man is really fun because it's very much like Arkham, where you're like jumping around the ceiling and then webbing people up and trying to like scare people and stuff. It's
I
really
love that bit.
yeah, it's so fun.
Like the detective mode in Batman when you can see when they're freaking out. Whenever
It was kind of like that.
they're scared and they're all like,
It's like a very simplified version of that. But the stealth on the MJ bits it's kind of like, say you're walking forward and there's a box in front of you and a guard on the other side of the box. What you have to do, there'll be an obvious marker to distract him, wait for him to go around one side of the box and you walk around the other, and it's like the most linear, obvious, like
it's just really basic stuff.
yeah, it tells you,
Okay.
it's basically telling you exactly what you want, what it needs you to do. It gives you prompts and new mechanics, and it shows you immediately where it wants you to use them. There's no kind of
See, I think that's kind of
nothing
lazy.
interest. It is very lazy.
And the same with like the mini games. It is just kind of lazy.
It's a
hate
shame.
The minigames so
I
much.
do.
Because the idea
The
of,
city itself isn't that interesting.
well, this is the other thing again. Like the city's not filled with many good, interesting things, but because you're Spider-Man and you're getting to swing around,
I don't
it
think it
makes
needs
it
to be
interesting.
interesting when you're
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
Well, that's the thing. They're hiding pretty
Everything
shallow game mechanics on
Based off the fact that you're
it's-
Spider-Man.
Yeah, which
is-
But that's what
they
these
can't
games.
get rid of that
But it does
yet.
it well, and I really want to see more superhero games like this that kind of,
But better.
but
Yeah.
yeah, maybe like, but just
This is a marking point, not
Absolutely.
like we can all do it.
Yeah,
the same
exactly.
way.
This is a benchmark.
Is there a detective mode sort of thing on this?
There's kind of like there's bits where
Spidey
you're
sense.
playing as MJ where you have to like solve puzzles.
But
There's light
there's
puzzle
not like
solving.
an overlay sort
No,
of
there's
thing.
like there's a thing that you can do where you can do like Spider-Man vision and it marks targets for you and it tells you if they're in like
that's every
safe
game,
range
isn't it?
and stuff. But that's it. That's like I said, that's pretty much every game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because detective mode for me in Arkham just quickly was you relied on it too much, and then you ended up like hiding this beautiful game with just like this overlay which you could see through walls and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
But yeah,
annoying.
sure, Spider-Man,
Cool.
not perfect, but very fun. And at the end of the day, that's what a video game should be. You know what I mean? Like, and especially a Spider-Man video game.
Yeah.
Would you describe it as 4 out of 5 stars?
4 out of 5 stars is spot on what I describe it as.
Ooh,
Almost like I
that's
have done that in the
nice.
past.
Funny. I wonder where I've had that.
So we might need to wrap up a little bit. So we're just gonna go on to because we only got about 10 minutes left. So
Sure.
we're gonna have to
Yeah.
skip on your Witcher 2 rant, but
That's
we'll
fine.
save that for another day.
It's coming.
So basically, we thought we'd finish up with EGX.
Should we rail off some of the games we've played and see what these two want to hear
I
about?
think that would be the best way of doing it. So
Okay.
and we want to say which ones we enjoyed or didn't
Oh,
enjoy.
we want to talk about
Yeah,
Telltale.
we'll list them all. We'll say what we
Oh,
liked and we'll say what we
yeah.
disliked.
Okay.
Uh,
So like,
so
should we go
then
like?
Well, no, we should
Oh, so
list them all.
I'll list them all and see what these
and
say.
then we'll
yeah,
say,
yeah,
and
go
then
on.
we'll say what ones we liked and what ones we disliked, and then they can.
That's fine.
So there was Life is Strange 2. I'm wearing a shirt right now.
Nice.
Metro Exodus. Was it Exodus?
20. No, yeah, it's Exodus.
Just
Is the new one.
like
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, mate.
Oh,
Oh.
Present for you. Little.
That's so cool!
There was
What?
Metro
You're gonna wear it for the
Exodus.
rest of the thing.
There was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. There's Man of Medan, which I do want to go into at some
The
point.
Until Dawn,
Yeah,
like.
the anthology
Man
Dark
of
Anthology.
Medan. There was Kingdom Hearts 3.
We played
Don't know that
Smash.
game. There was Smash. We didn't play Pokemon, but we could see it.
Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium. Don't know if anyone knows, but I really like that game.
I think Disco Elysium, we're going to try and get them as like a forged sponsor at this point because we just love them very much and I think they're starting to love us.
But yeah, I think that's it.
So,
Cool.
Do you want to ask about which one?
Which one do you
Metro
want to
Exodus.
ask about?
Metro Exodus. So
Luke
Tom
played
didn't
it,
play.
I
I
didn't
got to
get
play
to play
Metro.
it.
I thought you would ask about this one. So the bad news is I found it pretty shit.
Oh.
However, the things I found shit about it are the sort of things that can be changed considering it's not coming out till February.
Still worrying though if it's. Okay, go on,
I
what's
thought
the-
for me,
Okay.
some of the mechanics were a bit kind of, I don't know. The world was great. It was really, really intense, really sort of atmospheric. I think it does what Metro does best. It was, I don't know. It was very dark and obviously very but having the world in this, rather than being set just in the subways, being open world and being above ground, I thought was a really nice element to it. It reminded me a lot of Stalker, where it was much brighter, but in the same way, still very dark, just by its tone. The lore and stuff seems very interesting, very cinematic how it plays. However, my only worry with it is that in focusing so much on this like cinematic, atmospheric kind of feel to it, they've neglected some of the gameplay. So some of the shooting feels a bit naff. The lack of HUD again, they've got like no HUD to make it more atmospheric. But the problem with that is that it makes it difficult to play. Like you don't know where anything is because you've got this mini map. And even though it is open world, it's kind of one of those open worlds where it's like a linear open world. If that makes sense. You know, where there's paths within the open world
So it's
that you
like
follow.
open world in so much as
So
you
it's
can,
like Tomb
approach the
Raider.
same
Area
predetermined
through
places.
3
Yeah, it's like the
yeah.
Tomb Raider open world.
Yeah, exactly. How Tomb Raider does
It's like it's
open
an
worlds.
open world, but it's an island.
You
so-
can't go where you want in it. Like it's like I said, it's areas and paths to those areas.
And there's like invisible.
That's
Yeah.
really not the
No,
like
no,
impression you
no,
get from this.
Not
trailer.
at all. It's not the
Like it's
impression.
such wide, expanse views. That you kind of
I for me, it's kind of like on a middle ground at the minute.
I think it could be
keep an
good.
eye on it. Keep
I
an eye on
think
it.
it's. I think
like
it's got enough
rain.
time to perfect the parts that.
Exactly, it's not out till
It's
February.
so bad. But then again, the combat in Metro 1 and 2 were
Well, I think that's
pretty.
That's kind of the thing. Is that the combat's a bit clunky. I
It's
quite
also
like it. That
stunning.
it's kind of.
Yeah,
It didn't look
amazing.
nearly as nice as that. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, it's never
Oh.
gonna look as nice as that. It looked
Well,
actually
this is
kind of.
later.
It kind of looked a bit
Did
shit.
you
I'm not
play
gonna
it
lie.
on a Pro though?
I played it on an Xbox One S. S or X?
X.
X, sorry.
X, and it still looks.
It looks a bit grainy and a bit look.
That's a shame.
Might
Yeah.
be in the telly though.
But yeah, it also might have been the telly.
But
It
then
might
I-
have just been the setting, like that. It was like, the setting that it was like kind of murky place, so it wasn't really. It's not like this where it was a bit more
Snowy and
snowy
glittery.
and like light, and you can get a bit more idea of detail. This was also really cool. Finding all the stuff. The crafting's really in depth. The sort of gun customization on the fly is really good.
I just want it
really
to be,
easy to use.
I just want it to be so thematic, and I just want it to be a nice story, and that's all I really want.
I think
and
it
I want
will
to
be
see
that.
Lots of the train.
I think
I
it.
love a good train in a game.
I think the
It's like in
thematisation
Syndicate,
is what I got
that
most
was
faith out of
great.
it.
That was great.
What?
In Assassin's Creed Syndicate, you had like a base on a train and it moved
Yeah.
around London. And it was pretty fun.
I clearly missed that.
But yeah, so that's any
I'm too much
questions with Metro?
That's it.
Oh, it was very scary at points as well. Very
No,
jumpy, like
I can't do it. I can't do
even
this stuff
wolves
with
and
Jess.
stuff
Good.
like that was.
That bit with the
I love
crocodile
that.
coming for the boat is too much for me already.
I would a trailer.
I would
It's too
pause
much
and
for you.
turn the game off if that happened. I'm not even kidding.
You should play Observer then. So what were the other ones? I kind of want to hear about Smash, but also not really because it's
Smash was
Smash
Smash.
played like Smash.
Yeah.
It was
And,
Smash.
Like,
the
it's what you
but that was
expect.
it was Smash, but like it felt like it was being more responsive than
Yeah.
previous iterations, which is literally all
Okay.
Smash.
All you can ask for. And the levels were nice. And
The levels were really pretty. It was easy to see what was going on, and vice versa.
You know,
Smash was Smash. Smash is
sum it
going to
up.
be good. Fairly confident.
Tom battered the guy at Smash. I don't play Smash.
There
So
was
I
one
can
guy that
imagine.
was like,
Smash.
there was one guy that locked himself in as Bayonetta, and the guy that was watching us was like, "Oh, that's a good choice, Bayonetta. I hope you win." And this guy like thought he knew what he was doing and was like, "I've played Smash loads," and I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna crush him.
He did.
Destroy his Drake."
Hard him.
Where were you?
Peach.
I was Zelda.
Oh,
No,
you
I
was
was
Zelda.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Smash a lot then.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually. Oh man, I'm
Yeah.
shit.
But yeah, Smash was Smash.
Any other
Can
questions?
I, before we go on to another game, I just need to point out Fallout 76 is worrying. It was
Yeah.
there was a booth there. There was no gameplay. It was worrying.
It
It
was-
was concerning.
Oh,
The
no.
game
It was it was a big vault, and you get a picture with Vault Boy, and there was a thing next to it that sold like Stako
How long
Max
is it till
and
that game comes
Nuclear.
out?
Next month, it's like 4 weeks.
Oh,
Oh no, sorry, it's a bit long. It's a bit like it's about 6 weeks, I think.
6
Which
weeks.
and there was
Very
no
soon.
gameplay
There was
showing
no
there.
gameplay at E3.
That
Oh.
is ridiculous. That is shambles,
It
and
was
I think
worrying.
they are
It's
hiding
terrible.
something definitely.
Oh, that's gonna be shit.
Like when I saw that trailer, I didn't think that what I was seeing was particularly amazing. I kind of watched it and I was like, it's like
And yet we
Fallout 4,
still
but there's
can't
lots
play
of
it.
us.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then I was like, well, I mean, I don't really kind of want to get it.
I think your analogy is very spot on. That it's like Rust or like DayZ, where it's just one of them post-apocalyptic
It's
worlds.
one of those like survival games you play with your mates and you see people.
But
play
there's
on
no
YouTube.
overarching story
There's
or
four of
world
you
to
being
it.
silly and you make like a base.
Oh,
Yeah.
like not being funny, but wasn't that sort of game more relevant like
5 years
Yes.
ago, exactly. DayZ was like on the
God.
high
They all
ages
sound great,
ago.
but I've literally not heard of them in the last
Got
5 years.
any other ones that you want to hear about?
Yeah.
So what are the others? Okay, so Disco Elysium.
We've talked about all that time. Pokemon Disco Elysium is great. We'll leave it at that. That's you can look more about that game.
Yeah.
There will be more
Pokemon.
content regarding it soon.
Yeah.
Pokemon, which oh,
Eevee.
Pokemon Let's Go.
Let's go. We
Yeah.
didn't actually play that. We just watched that for a bit.
But there was a
I-
reason why we didn't play.
It's a huge queue.
That and we were in the queue and we were watching what was being played and I was like, you know,
I get it,
I
it's
won't gain
Pokemon.
anything from playing it. I can
Sure.
already see how it's going
yeah,
to play.
it's Pokemon.
I'm worried because it feels like it's leaning too much on the Pokemon Go gimmick, which
Yeah.
is literally
That
what I don't
concerns
want.
me because I don't want to
I just want a
have that
Pokemon
mix.
game.
I
Like,
think,
I'd rather
but
just have
to be
Could
every,
feasibly be
every time it
amazing.
went out, when it went into catching Pokemon and it was the ball and talking,
It was like, oh.
that was a bit dumb. But every time it went out to the overworld and you saw how pretty that looked and how obviously
even the
that
battling-
I loved.
The battling didn't even have like a UI. It was like fight bag and item.
Yeah,
in
no,
the
I agree.
bottom
The
right.
fighting also looked bad.
And I think it's because you can control it all with the
Balls, so
the
they have to make
balls,
it
so
simple.
they have to make
Oh,
it simple.
no. See, I
But
just-
then it also makes me think the game is going to be a very casual game as well.
Yeah.
One thing,
I'm worried
one thing
about.
that I really liked as well. Sorry, just quickly go back to Metro that I've just realised is bullets in this game are very hard to come by, and I love that. I used like all my bullets very
Oh,
quickly,
I
and I was like,
can't.
oh shit!
I can't aim.
I go around stabbing
I can't
wolves.
aim.
There was a
That's
bit
so
when I was on
hard.
top of a car, and I had to use a throwing knife on a wolf that was like barking up at me because that's all I had left.
Right, is there anything else?
Tell me about Kingdom Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts.
So do you want to start first? Oh, actually, do you want me to start first as someone who's not played Kingdom Hearts,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
you talk a bit more as someone
Tell
who
us.
has? So I never got into Kingdom Hearts. For me, I always thought it was really stupid. I thought it was kind of like really silly. And childish. Hear me out. You're gonna get, but there's gonna be the but.
Small-minded.
I thought as a kid, well think about it, when that game came out I was like 8 years old, so I wanted like guns and like violence. I was playing like GTA and racing games and stuff like that, because the idea of Kingdom Hearts just didn't appeal to me. However, now I'm much older and wiser, having played it, I thought it was very, very, very enjoyable. I've spoken a lot about how I think like 3D platformers need to make a bit of a resurgence, because they were so big obviously early noughties, and now like they can do them well, and that's why I'm looking forward to Spyro, which is a game we didn't get a chance to play. But when I was playing Kingdom Hearts, I was like, this is a really really good 3D platformer. The combat is really fun. The exploration is really rewarding. It's very smooth, very
Good.
enjoyable to watch, and it looks great.
And you can just run up walls.
Is this Spider-Man?
No, this is Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
But then, like as well, I was playing it, and even having never played a Kingdom Hearts game, I found it had like an odd nostalgia to it that was really good, and it was really fun.
Because you just get to meet all your
Exactly.
Disney friends.
It was just enjoyable and really really good fun, and it's the sort of game I could definitely see spending hours on and really getting into.
Yeah, because there was two
There's
different
80 plus of
demos.
them.
There was
Yeah.
Hercules World and there was Toy Story World.
So we each played one of the separate worlds. We got onto the other worlds, but we mainly focused on one. I did the Hercules one, you did the Toy Story one. Mine was like a cinematic boss fight, and that's one of the things that I thought, for a cartoony game, I wasn't expecting it to be like so cinematic and so like epic, I suppose.
It was very
It had
cinematic.
like a massive score behind it. It was really, I don't know, it was just really, really enjoyable and really kind of like engrossing. Like I said, the music was fantastic, and that was one of the highlights for me.
It's amazing.
And yeah, the whole thing, I really got sucked into it, and it sold me 100%. Tom, now someone who's played that game much more, bigger fan of the series, what were your thoughts?
Anyone that's played any of the other Kingdom Hearts games are going to be impressed in every single way, because it does everything that it used to do, but better, and it didn't need to do anything else than that. It has less awkward dialogue with all these Disney characters, because in the previous games it was like, oh my god, there's Ariel, but she doesn't talk like Ariel, she talks like a game PC, or like playable character. You know what I mean?
They
Because
managed to achieve that.
no, but like in the old games it was just like, hello, I am Ariel,
Yeah.
and the conversations were stiff, and
Yeah.
you're not really Ariel, you just look
No.
like Ariel.
Yeah.
While in this game, when in the Toy Story world, which was very character based instead of like cinematic based, you got to meet like Woody, Buzz, you got to meet the aliens, you got to meet the army soldiers, I think, and you got to meet Rex and Ham, and they all were like, they were instantly recognisable as their characters, which is something that Kingdom Hearts didn't quite do, other than just appearance in the previous games. Like they looked like the characters, but they weren't the characters. While Woody, when I met Woody, I was like, this is Woody, and like,
Love it.
which I think is the last thing that Kingdom Hearts needed to fully refine, I feel.
Speaking of mini games before as well, there were a few times where the gameplay mechanics changed slightly. So there's a bit where you're like in a tank, and there's a bit where you're running up a wall, and all that felt very fun and very fluid.
Yeah, it
and
suddenly became a first-person shooter,
and
like.
but you didn't think anything of it. You weren't like, this is weird or gimmicky or takes me out of it. It was just like, okay, this is enjoyable because it was done so well. It reminded me a lot of, I spoke to you on the day about this. It reminded me a lot of Odyssey, as in Mario Odyssey, when every time you use the hat on a different creature,
Yeah,
it's like a mini game in itself, but because it's so simple and basic, it's just like a little fun bit for you to enjoy rather than anything that you like need to wrap your head around or get stuck into. It's just like a little fun extra, which is what a mini game should be. Really, it should be a mini game. You know what I mean? Any quick questions about Kingdom Hearts 3? We do need to wrap up fairly soon.
Quickly.
We probably won't be able to do another game, sadly.
Well,
it doesn't
yeah,
last
just
every
have-
time
have
you
we got, like,
say
a
about
minute?
something. We're going
That was
over
Man of
time.
Men.
I'll stop. We can talk about Kingdom Hearts another
We're
time.
gonna have to wrap up. The only one thing I do say is it makes me laugh that any time we talk about Kingdom Hearts, you do that. Like you actually like hold your
Kingdom
heart.
Hearts. Like, it's been 12 long years, okay?
So yeah, we will have to wrap up there. Sadly, we were a bit pressed for time. Hopefully, if we do this again, we'll make it a little bit longer. Maybe talk about the stuff. Final casting note.
R.I.P. Telltale Games.
We were going to talk about
Oh,
Telltale
yeah.
Games, but actually, really quick thing. Yeah, it is very very sad
We
news.
can always
I
talk
think,
about it next.
I think
Yeah.
I think we'll talk a bit more about it in depth next time. Hopefully.
I feel bad, but they had it coming. Cool.
You're a pessimist.
Anyway,
Anyway,
on that note, thank you very much
Yeah,
for joining me.
what happened.
Are you gonna let me do the
Yeah,
outro?
I
We need
know,
to-
Anyway.
You can't have side
Sing
conversations
the
when we're
theme
all
tune.
mic'd up.
Please
Sing the
sing.
theme tune. Come on.
Shut up.
Oh, wait.
So, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been very enjoyable. I hope you three have all enjoyed it as well.
One of us is
One of
in
the
it.
most
Who was it?
useless on it.
So yeah, that was the first of hopefully many episodes of Forge Cast.
Is that what we're calling
No,
That's
working title.
Working title Forgecast. Next week we are going to be doing one about film. In the subsequent weeks we'll be doing ones about music and sport. So look forward to them. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. There you go. Thank you very much, guys.
Is it going to be preferred if I leave my laptop here?
I would prefer it, but you don't have to. I can go get the MacBook